I hope you can join me on this journey of Christian mindfulness, which I like to call Christfulness, learning to walk the unforced rhythms of grace on this earth, like Jesus walked. You know, when Jesus walked on this earth, he didn't go through life hurried and rushed about and pulled in this way and that way. Yes, he did get people coming to ask him for help, and he didn't refuse them. But he also had rhythms in his life of pulling away, taking time out, spending time with his Father in prayer. He had rhythms of his life which went, were different to the ones that his disciples had. They had pressures from family, they had pressures to pay the bills. But when Jesus called, he said, "Follow me." And some of them had to figure out how they were going to do that with their families. We all have to work on recognizing that when God asks us to follow him through Jesus, how do we prioritize that in the midst of the busyness of life, all the distractions that we can have? Like I said, paying bills, making sure that we can get through our weekly to-do list, our tasks. It might not be weekly, it might be daily task list. And yet in the same time and space, keep God as our focus, our priority, because if we love God, we want to do that. Anyway, I thought I'd read some scriptures. Obviously, this passage that Jesus spoke from Matthew 11 is one of those passages that really, remind us of what he came to do. And he said, actually, I might actually go a little bit earlier than that. This is from Matthew 11:27. Jesus resumed talking to the people, but now tenderly. The Father has given me all these things to do and say. This is a unique Father-Son operation, coming out of the Father and the Son intimacies and knowledge. No one knows the Son the way the Father does, nor the Father the way the Son does. But I'm not keeping it to myself. I'm ready to go over it line by line with anyone willing to listen. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. I just love this passage. I just love that sense of the unforced rhythms of grace. And, that's what Jesus is inviting us to, a journey with him in Christian mindfulness, those unforced rhythms of grace. He's not laying a whole lot of shoulds and to-dos on you. He's just asking you to come away with him in the midst of your busyness. Include him. Hear his voice. Hear his Holy Spirit sort of giving you a prompt to take time, pull away. Everything in the Bible, if you go back, all of the rhythm, the ribbon of grace that goes through the Old and the New Testament is about intimacy. It's about being present with Jesus or being present with God. It's about longing to hear his voice and laying aside other things for a moment to spend time with him. And I think that's what, as Christians, we're called to do too. But too often we get into a performance mentality. We get into a sense of perfectionism, like, oh, I have to look like this in order to be a true Christian. No, God has called you to be you, not to try and be a clone of somebody else. God has called you to be true to who you are in him, and that he will be the one who gives you that information about your calling, your purposes, your identity. They're the things that we need to come towards God for, and not other people. I'm just going to read another passage, and this is also from the Message translation, and it's from Hebrews 4. And, you know, I've read this passage in other translations, and it's about resting in God. And this passage in Hebrews 4 is about the promise of rest in God. For as long then as the promise of resting in him pulls us onto God's goal for us, we need to be careful that we're not disqualified. We receive the same promises as those people in the wilderness, but the promises didn't do them a bit of good because they didn't receive the promises with faith. If we believe, though, we'll experience that state of resting, but not if we don't have faith. I just want to stop there. In order to understand God's promises, we actually have to have faith that they are real, that they are meant for you, and that God is speaking to you when you hear a promise, and that promise of resting in God is something that is attainable. It's not in the far off distant future, but it is attainable. So I do think that those unforced rhythms of grace is about a Christian mindful journey. So today, if you get a chance to, stop from your busyness for a moment. Take some time to spend it with Jesus in your quiet moment. Set stuff aside so that God can speak to you and you can hear his voice. Allow that inner sense of joy at being present with him become part of your day-to-day existence. Anyway, that's it for my mindfulness vlog today on rest and the unforced rhythms of grace.